Welcome to The Independent. I'm your host, Jarell Corley. What is this channel about, you might ask? Great question. I'll explain that in a minute, but first, a little about myself. For as long as I can remember, I've been volunteering for various political causes. As a teenager, I assisted local campaigns by canvassing neighborhoods, gathering petition signatures for candidates to be on the ballot. At one point in time, I worked as a fundraiser for both Greenpeace and the Human Rights Campaign. I've also conducted polling for national candidates during various presidential elections. While in Florida, I advocated on behalf of United for Care and fought for the legalization of medical marijuana. Oh, how great a time that was. Most recently, I've been volunteering on behalf of the Independent Voters Movement. My involvement with this movement has been very rewarding, and as a result, I've decided to start my YouTube channel, covering this cause I'm very passionate about. This movement is ongoing and is fighting to transform American democracy. Furthermore, I've had plenty of opportunities for self-development, thus, I'm creating this channel. Over the past 8 years, I volunteered within this movement in a number of capacities and with a number of organizations. The most important organizations I've been involved with include independentvoting.org and open primaries. Please click the links below to learn more about how these amazing organizations are transforming our democracy. In addition to educating the public about this silent revolution, I plan to have discussions on current events and other political happenings. But enough about me. Let's get on to learning about the movement. The Independent Voters Movement is an important piece of the current political puzzle receiving little attention. Although independents have played a critical role in presidential elections since the election of President Obama in 2008, we have largely been written off by politicians and pundits alike. A few weeks ago, I joined in on a national conference call hosted by Jackie Salick, president of independentvoting.org. The call highlighted the current status of the independent movement and was quite inspiring. On the call, I learned from the latest Gallup poll that 42% of Americans self-identify as independent. Why are so many people disassociating themselves from the two major political parties? Well, as independents, we are frustrated with the political process as it stands and are demanding change. Partisan politics has polarized Congress, leaving Washington under a standstill, unable to create solutions to the problems faced by everyday Americans. As the system by which we elect our officials stands, it will be very difficult, let alone impossible, to hold our elected officials accountable for their inability to govern our nation. This is why independents refuse to identify as belonging to either of the two major political parties. No one stands for anything anymore, and politicians put the concerns of themselves as well as the concerns of their party above the concerns of the American people. Identifying as an independent is a protest against the two-party system. The independent movement is fighting to change an unfair voting system. The majority of the states in the union have a closed primary voting system, which dictates that voters must join a party in order to vote. 25 million independent voters were locked out of the 2016 presidential primaries and unable to cast a vote simply because they were not registered members of either the Democratic or Republican Party. These rules must be changed. Many say we should join a party if we want to vote. Independents say it is absurd for Americans to claim allegiance to a party before exercising their constitutional right to vote. The independent voting movement is about freeing the voters, and this is what we intend to continue fighting for. Despite our growing numbers, the mainstream media writes us off, treats us as if we don't exist. As a matter of fact, most pundits protest there are no true independents, as many of us end up voting either Republican or Democrat. Despite this fact, no one dare mention how our current voting system limits and restricts the choices of candidates due to the restrictions of primary participation by the political parties. Yes, individual independents may lean Democrat or Republican. However, our gripe is not about the two major political parties themselves, but about the power they exercise over the process that ultimately controls how candidates are chosen and how those candidates progress throughout the election. Our voting system is unfair. and serves the interests of the parties, not the American people. Hence, we believe the process should be changed to keep the voter and not the parties at the forefront of all elections. As noted earlier, 25 million Americans were locked out of the primaries during the 2016 presidential primary. This is a critical piece of information because 90% of the time, the candidate who wins the primary is more than likely the candidate who wins the general election. Primaries are important because they determine who makes it to the next round of the election cycle. Independent voters have played a determinative role in the primary since the election of President Obama in 2008, when he won 52% of the independent vote in that year's primary. Although Romney lost the general election in 2012, he won the majority of independent voters against Obama to win the Republican nomination. In our most recent example, President Trump carried independents with 46% of their vote. These quick statistics show just how viable the independent vote is. So, why not free the voters and let them vote without having to decide which party to ride? This concludes my first episode. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If so, please hit the like button below. I've also included some links in the description section for your intellectual stimulation as well. Please, click and read to learn more about the movement and my past involvement. And finally, if this subject is something of interest, please subscribe to stay updated. Until next time, and remember, free the voters.